Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Outlander Season 7, Part 1 on Starz. Now, I am going to be more negative on this because they could call this Part 1, Part A, whatever it is, say that Season 7 is 16 episodes. If it's pretty much a year's length between those parts, that's 2 separate seasons. Okay, so that's one thing because you're marketing this as something that it's not. Alright? It's another season at that point. And I just did season 6. An issue is that I had a kind of bleed over. It's in this season that we get that Brianna gives birth to Amanda, has the whole kind of heart issues, and they decide to go back to the future and then still have this stuff going on in the future, juggling past and 1980s. There's not enough episodes for this shit. 8 episodes is not enough. We've got Jamie rescuing Claire from the whole kind of trial thing, even though the trial thing never happened. We learn that Tom Christie is in love with Claire, and that pretty much sacrifices himself to save her. Jamie and Claire's house blows up because Wendigo Donner pops back up and pretty much wants to steal some gems to pretty much get back home, and lights a match that blows up the house. I'm actually alright with this change because it falls on him instead of Ian from the books. Ian gets enough shit and gets shit on enough. No. This then has these bug people pop up who've been around but then become important because they stole the fucking Jacobite gold from Aunt Yocasta, who hasn't fucking noticed it. Not because... for some fucking reason. I mean, granted, she's blind, but not for just that reason. And he decides to... Archbug decides to send his wife to pretty much get the gold because they've earned it and all that. And she shoots at Jamie, which then has Ian shoot and kill her to pretty much take the threat out. And then Archbug's like, "Oh, will you let me kill Rolo?" It's like, no, I lost a wife. So when you get someone you love, I'll come and I'll take that. I'm like, fuck you, you old crusty ass dick shit. Fuck off here, man. Like, their house burnt down, and you're like trolling around for gold and shit. Okay, you fucker. And you decided to fucking hide that shit under their house without them knowing? Fucking idiotic move, you dumb prick. We get the acceleration of what's going on with the revolution. This brings us to loggerheads more forcefully with Lord John and Jamie, where they decide to pretty much, at least for the quote-unquote end their friendship. Lord John giving the sapphire back that Jamie had given him at Ardsmere to allow Brianna and Jem and Roger to go back to their time. Which, that was pretty emotional. That's lined up with what I kind of saw from the summaries and everything and what my mom described before. So I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. We get William getting more time here. This is kind of where William came in. Pardon me for that one kind of also kind of going. It was nuts. I'm like, oh god. And then William's kind of adventures of somewhat being kind of tied up in some kind of dude's spy organization kind of shit before pretty much getting more onto the British side while Jamie's on the rebel side. His shit seemed like more side quest kind of stuff, and honestly, I don't know how they could have kind of like helped it. It seemed kind of random ass shit in the summaries that I was reading, and I'm like, why? I understand trying to get a British perspective, but you got Lord John right fucking there. And I guess they were more like, we'll increase the drama by having Jamie shoot at William and shoot his hat off. And then also in that battle, Simon Fraser will die. And will then set this off for the end of this season. Season part. It's more of a season to me. If you don't have that problem, I understand. But if you have to wait like a year or more, that's another season. And since Simon Fraser was a relative, they pretty much get terms of surrender after the second battle of Saratoga to allow Jamie and Claire and Ian to escort Simon Fraser's body back to Scotland and get that whole spiel going on. While this is going on, we get the other random ass fucking shit of Brianna and Roger having Jem and Mandy kind of grow up in the 80s, dealing with Jem's kind of school where Roger, for some inexplicable reason, having been a professor at like Oxford, didn't think to like teach shit about Gaelic until it like popped up with like Jem's whole bit. And then also for some reason his like many times great grandfather Buck Mackenzie, who pretty much had him hung in the Battle of Elements, has popped up as well. And now we just have the random stuff, and then introducing this whole thing of this Rob Cameron dude who was at Roger's Gaelic teaching, deals with reading Roger's pretty much Hitchhiker's Guide to Time Traveling thing that he's writing for the kids so they understand what the fuck's kind of going on. And we don't really know what his whole fucking deal is. He read that Jem knows about like gold or whatnot. He gets into Claire's letters because Claire and Jamie wrote letters to Brianna, pretty much telling him shit and had it delivered to them. Interesting kind of cool framing device for learning into Claire and Jamie's whole kind of bits with like getting to Fort Ticonderoga, doing the battles of Saratoga. The battles were done pretty well. The chaotic nature helps with this whole shaky cam, so I'll give them that on the action scenes. But that was a kind of cool framing device as they're in the 1980s. But we don't know what Rob Cameron's motivations are. He just finds this out, kidnaps Jem for some fucking reason, makes it look like they went through the stones, because Mandy's shouting, he's gone, he's gone! And they have some kind of connection that really isn't explored. It's more explored in the summaries in the books. After this kind of effect, when they get Jem back, she actually goes and explores this with Joe Abernathy. However, we have that Roger and Buck, who... There should be more time here. I mean, I'm describing a horrendous amount of fucking shit here. I mean, Claire had to pretty much get put on a boat, thought of as a forger, dicker her way out of the governor's shit, where Tom Christie pretty much sacrificed himself, saying he killed Malva, to pretty much have Claire be gone and move on, and then they get pretty much conscripted into the Continental Army, go to Saratoga. Jamie has to deal with a dude who's like, yeah, they're not going to fire on us from that kind of shit. And Jamie's like, fuck this. I got people up there and we can fire cannons here. And there's like, fuck, the British are coming. So they kind of like, fuck off from Ticonderoga. But we need more understanding of what the fuck's kind of going on here. We need more time here. I did like who they got for Buck Mackenzie. However, I mainly understand that they did it because they wanted someone younger than Graham McTavish, which is kind of a shame. But I liked Buck's character here. However, we don't really effectively deal with it as much as other than like Roger, like, oh yeah, I forgave him. So, dude had you hung. I mean, granted, your voice is back and everything. You're pretty much A-okay for the most part, but that's mainly down to you just being like, hey, the plot kind of demands it. I kind of want to see what kind of goes on here. Buck eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and being like, oh, this is actually pretty good. But then being like, yeah, I've kind of had lawyering kind of stuff. It's like, okay, interesting. And seeing him kind of acclimate to the time, the actor does a really good job. The content he's got is decent enough because we see that he thinks that Rob Cameron is pretty much into Brianna. Not really. But we also see that Brianna finds some kind of ley line time distortion in the dam that this Rob Cameron dude works at, because she works there as an inspector. That was kind of interesting. However, it felt more kind of side quest, side plot kind of thing to pretty much get us to the point where Rob just becomes the antagonistic dude that just kidnaps Jem. And even reading from the summary where that kind of goes, it's really fucking stupid because he left a scarf there of gems. Roger and Buck decide to go through the stones, getting gems themselves, and try and go and figure out wherever they're at. However, they for some reason, and this is where they're going to be dealing with, so you want to avoid book spoilers. Spoiler. They get to like the 1739, and it goes some weird fucking places. I think Buck gets together with Galus, which fucking wipes him from existence, which is really fucking weird. The summary was not clear with on this part, so I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's kind of going on here. So, have at thee, motherfuckers. That's just the whole kind of subplot. As you can see, everything's kind of spiraled out of control here. When it was Jamie and Claire, you had them as the anchor, and you had the history as the kind of thing that was your kind of B-side that you could interweave at whatever kind of part. Now you've got such an expanded cast of characters that have their own stories and subplots that aren't as connected as they need to be to make it as effectively executable as you could. You need to do a lot of work to do it. And their work is to just cut and pare back as much as possible and just put the barest amount of time and effort into connecting it. That's how I feel. If you don't feel that way, that is cool and fun. You like this, you find it awesome, you find the characters and the world building supreme and perfect, that's cool, man. That's good. Enjoy that shit. Again, one of the things I want to talk about when I do these reviews is I am not attempting to shit on someone's enjoyment. If you enjoy it and you're not liking what I'm saying, that's cool. That's fine. Here, I'm just like, all of these deserve better execution, interweaving, and what's going on. I liked it in the beginning because it wasn't simple, but it was a simply executed where you're going, okay, we've got our characters that lead us to the world at large, which leads us to lore and historical kind of context and the interconnection of that. Once you start having the time travel take a bigger kind of effect where you're doing different competing time periods with different kind of stuff, you have to then figure out what would make those interesting. Hence, we don't know what Rob Cameron's endgame objective is for kidnapping Jem. I didn't even figure that out in the summary. Or the summary didn't really make that explicitly clear. Jem understanding where this kind of Spanish gold is, i.e. Jamie took the Jacobite gold that they found that Ms. Bug was able to find and hid it in this cave that him and Jem only know about, which is guarded by this dead Spaniard dude. And that they melted it down into like musket balls and shit. We think that Rob Cameron, from what clues we've seen through the show, that we could potentially make inferences for, it's potentially trying to either utilize the time to either undo a mistake and change history, or get the Jacobite gold so that way he can fight for custody of his kid because he's living with his ex-wife in like France or whatnot. But we don't know because there's not enough time to go into these in-depth explanations. They are doing and putting more effort into the history stuff because that usually takes front and center stage with like the battles of Saratoga's, Ticonderoga, everything kind of like that, introducing us to Benedict Arnold and kind of getting a more humanized approach on that. Again, it's not enough time. 8 episodes is not enough. The execution, the pacing, it's too condensed and too accelerated because we only have 8 episodes. And yes, it's 8 episodes. God. I'm saying this and I'm feeling myself going fucking loopy, trying to keep it all straight and be like, what's kind of juggling? Fergus and Marcelly were pretty much just put into a printing press thing connected with Aunt Yocasta, and a lot of people just start like getting thunder cut out. Tom Christie was an interesting one because he pretty much sacrificed himself to save Claire and then thought that she was dead because he's the one that did the whole kind of obituary thing, but then found her on the street and laid a kiss on her being like, yay, you're alive. And Claire's reaction, like, that was a really well acted scene. She's like, what the fuck? But she's not like immediately like, I'll gut your fucking ass kind of shit. It's just, oh, well, we're alive. We're good. We're cool. Which then leads to other kind of bits. They leave. It's a nice emotional leaving from Fraser's Ridge, saying goodbye to everybody, saying goodbye to Adsa, which was cute. I wanted them to do a little bit more on that, because Jamie's been conscripted, so is he, and Claire's like, I'm not letting you just go up and fuck off into the American Revolution without my ass. I would kind of liked them to have explained a little bit better how the whole workings would have been with the Laird leaving Fraser's Ridge. I mean, Lizzie, you're leaving it Lizzie as pretty much the healer, and I guess the Beardsley twins as the ones to kind of hold the fort down, and I wouldn't do that. I mean, one of them's at least a really, like, both of them could at least be pretty decent hunters. That's cool. I have seen nothing that would endear me to them being able to hold down an entire settlement full of people with gripes and grievances of what's going on. I mean, shit. We just are finishing up a Laird scandal of Malva and everything, and then also learning that Malva had sex with her brother, and that her brother had pretty much been abusing her, and that she was sleeping around with all these guys to pretty much make it pass off and everything like that. That was just a crazy kind of resolution on that. Ian killing him. That, of course, leads us to the Bugs, Ms. Bug, helping him bury the body, and bringing that up like, oh yeah, they owe us the gold and shit like that because of everything that we've done and for them and keeping their secrets. And thing is, Claire was trying to stop Alan from killing himself. I mean, after we get pretty much what's essentially pretty much the plot dump and exposition dump for this and kind of tying off this loose thread, but thank God, it's just, whoa, heavy kind of shit, and I'm just, Claire, there ain't nothing you can pretty much do with this dude. It's like, alright, here you go, he's out. Because you essentially got to the same place, you just now have Ian having that kill on his conscience. And I'm not advocating that you just fucking like, hey, try and help someone as much as possible. This motherfucker is like obsessively in love with his sister and killed her and their unborn baby. That would take a level of fixing and therapist that I ain't got nothing. Like, yep. That, I ain't got nothing on that. So, it would just be, now, if they had had enough time and tried to see Claire actually trying to help him, sure, go for it. If you're going to treat this subject matter with the amount of care that it deserves. I don't remember much of that kind of popping off within the summary that I read, so I got nothing really to kind of compare it to of what it did for the books, but it was just like kind of plot dump to kind of figure that kind of shit out, and Claire just pretty much doing a throwaway line for Tom Cruise to be like, yeah, your son kind of fucked off and left the ridge. It's fine, it's fine. Again, we've only got 8 episodes. They don't have enough time to do any better. It's like, I don't have time to explain why. I don't have time to explain. It's like, we are here. This is what we've got. And everybody's better than this. We've got great costuming. We got better action scenes and everything. We've got actors that are fine. I really put it down to the content and everything. And instead, we get things like Bree and Roger having sex to I Can Feel It Coming in the Air Tonight. Now, as someone who does see scenes and understands, like, putting music to certain kind of things that would be cool, I get it. But you have to fight those impulses and be like, is this important enough? To choreograph the sex scene, get the rights to use the music, doing all these kind of things to make sure that everything works out. What is it furthering for us? We're just, like, if you have Pardon me for saying like so many times. Do we have enough time to showcase Bangy Bang sex times? If we do, go for it. If we don't, selectively do for whichever relationship needs it the most. Claire and Jamie, Roger or Brianna. Roger and Brianna. And to be honest with you, as the seasons go on, I really could give two fucks in a shit about Roger and Brianna's relationship. I'd almost rather them just be completely and utterly pushed into the background cardboard characters and finish up Jamie and Claire's story. Find whatever conclusion needs to go there and do it. We will see how we get with the second/B part. That'll be popping off this November. I don't know how they are going to do certain kind of things because we've got to deal with Philadelphia. We've got to get the revolution done. Fergus and Marcelly have some shit they need to do. John Gray has shit that needs to be done. William. Oh, there's a real fucking lot of shit. Jenny. Old Ian. You're telling me you're going to do this in 18 episodes? Barring any unforeseen circumstances where Season 8 potentially loses any episodes? That's a hard and a tall ask. And I've already seen the shaky enough foundations, and I just don't... I don't know, man. I'll definitely ride it out to see what goes on and happens, but I don't have a lot of hope. And that sucks because this is really... my mom really got into this, and I can see why she did because it reminds me of like other historical fiction stuff, like the Temeraire novel series, where it's like Napoleonic Wars, but with dragons, with the Assassin's Creed series, where they investigate different kind of historical time periods and do it with that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of things that can be done with historical fiction and drama. And this just decided to fucking spin out. We'll have to see how this goes. Now, recommending this, if you're, again, kind of like Season 6, you're in this deep, go for it, unless you've completely and utterly lost yourself. Like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I found a, like, stopping point where they're pretty much like, I'm like, no, I'm done. Supernatural, I almost was that point before they launched the last seasons. Like, this is our final season. I'm like, alright, I'll ride this out. Holy Jesus. Ha, ha. That, I still have repercussions from that one. Of course, Game of Thrones as well, where you're like, we'll get to the end. Oh my god, can I not anymore? So, be prepared. I don't like saying that, but it's what it's got to be said. And if you're enjoying this, awesome. I'm happy for you. Alright? So those are my opinions on the season. Part 1 of the season. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.